Okay, we did it. We pushed the button again. We survived. And by we, I mean me. Hello, welcome. Thank you for being here with me today. I am Sarah Jelly. I am vocal magic coach, and we talk about all kinds of stuff here on Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m. Hawaii time. Talk about any questions that you have about singing. Today I wanted to talk about kind of an extension of what I talked about last time, but it'll be helpful if you haven't watched it either way. Because I was talking about breathing, and I didn't mention a lot of things about breathing because there's only so much I can get to in half an hour. So we were talking about the the magic of your body and how it already knows so much about breathing, and how we overthink things a whole lot of the time. And so what we want to do is think about how our breathing is connected to all the different parts of our body. Hello, welcome, 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 welcome. If you're here, tell me what you've been up to today. And maybe what you're working on in singing, and we can talk about it. But I'm doing kind of like, yeah, for sure, Jet, we all have a tendency to be overthinkers sometimes, and so we overdo what we're doing with our breath a lot of the time when we're singing. But also sometimes if you have not had any vocal training, your default is just, okay, I'm going to sing from here, right? From this little box right here. And we don't necessarily have the connections to our abs. We don't necessarily have the connections to your legs, to what's happening in your head. So it's really good to know what's happening and which muscles to engage and which not to engage. Because when you have those habits, and those habits are very strong in you, which if it's a habit, it's strong, right? If you ever try to break a habit, you know how hard it is to break it. But when the first moment you get a little bit dysregulated, a little bit freaked out, or you're maybe used to just singing a certain way in your body, so your body just goes back to that default at any moment, right? If you're singing kind of like half-assed a little bit, like that's when your body's going to go right back to that default. So for a lot of us, especially if we are overthinkers and overdoers and fighters and go-go-goers, our default is going to be to overdo and over squeeze and over effort from your vocal muscles. And so that's why a lot of people feel strain, is because when they go up to a big note, they're thinking, oh, okay, I got to push harder because it's a bigger note. And so their brain is connected to these muscles, and it goes, okay, let me push harder from these muscles. But a lot of times that's counter to what we want, because it's squeezing and you don't actually have to strain to hit that note. It's just how your body relates to that sound in general. Because, and I know this because when I have people speak it on that note, they can do it just fine. So they can make sound at that pitch, that which is literally what a note is, right? So in that case, I would have somebody take a nice deep breath, which means releasing your abs a little bit. I think we talked about that a little bit last week, or releasing your abdominals so that your ab muscles can have somewhere to go. And imagine you're talking to somebody like the next house over or across the street or something. Like, what does your body do naturally, right? If we're talking about this note, see if you can get to that note from a speaky place. So let's do it on like a, hey you, right? That's my favorite thing to do, because that really helps get the abs involved because of the H, right? Hey, 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 hey you. And you can beat, that's the same note as I was doing before. That's that same note, but without all that extra strain. Hey, hey you. So open in here, right? Also the vowel helps. Hey is really just nice and open. If it was E, that might be a different story. Some people put a lot of weight on the E, and a lot of tension and tightness and smallness. So you now have evidence that your body can do that, and that your abs helped you get there. It wasn't these muscles, it was these big muscles down here. And when I say abs, I don't mean all of your abs, although they're all working all the time. The things I want you to think about are mostly the obliques are the ones on the outside, the round on the outside ones. So I do that a lot. It's not just a double shaka. And then the low abs, right underneath your belly button. So as we're thinking, okay, I got to make this big sound, let me engage my abs. We don't want to do like a full crunch, right? We're not going to go, ha, because that's also causing extra tension in all different ways in your body. So I want you to think about those, which for me, all I have to do if I'm sitting is press my feet into the ground. And I start to feel those obliques on the side, and my low abs start to really kick in gear. Press your feet into the ground, and then release. Inhale, exhale, press your feet into the ground, and release. And you also, it's not just those, you also feel a little bit of engagement as you're breathing in the top part, right? If you see your ribs, your bottom ribs here, and you feel them go up into this triangle, find where that triangle is, that squishy part underneath the triangle. And that's where your diaphragm lives. And so you can put your hand here as you're doing that, and you can feel some engagement there too. And so there are some abs there, but really what you're looking for is a slight up and in motion, and that's your diaphragm working. Now, we cannot engage our diaphragm voluntarily. So when people say sing from your diaphragm, there's a lot of other stuff going on. It's not wrong, but you're not just controlling your diaphragm muscle voluntarily. You're engaging your abs and you're moving your organs, and you're breathing in a different way, which is in turn moving your diaphragm in a different way. It's still moving, but we can't go diaphragm only movement. Go. That's not how it works. So we have to move our abs in the right ways to do that. So as we're thinking about breathing and thinking about making sound, this is a lot of the stuff your body does naturally, right? So as you did that, hey you, start to notice now which abdominal muscles are moving. Do your obliques get involved? Do the low abs get involved? Hey, see if you can yell a little louder, get a little bit more volume behind you. Hey, maybe go try a little higher if you want to. Hey, and see what happens also with your breath in that moment. So put your hand here where your diaphragm is. And as you inhale, it should feel like it's coming down a little bit and out. Expand. And then as you go to make sound, you should feel a little bit of engagement pulling in and up. So as you breathe, inhale, release. Hey you! So if you're feeling into where your diaphragm is, it should go, hey you! Right? And there should be very little extrinsic vocal muscles engaging, right? There's a little bit of movement because it's a high-ish note in your chest voice, right? If you are a female-oriented person. But in most cases, in most cases, what's happening is your diaphragm is just helping. And so you get the ab movement, but the diaphragm is a secondary causation. Is that the right word? A secondary effect. It's the easier word, from that place. So what we want is to just notice what's happening, because so often we don't even think about it. And then when we go to sing, the default in how we feel like singing should feel kicks in. And then when you start thinking about, oh, what are my abs doing right now? It gets so much easier to engage them if we're at least thinking about it a little bit. Now, I don't want you to overthink, because as we established, we're overthinkers here. But I want you to at least feel into that. So something I was doing with a couple students this week is actually feeling into doing this movement quite quickly, right? And so a lot of times we do this in operatic training. I don't do it very often now. I really should do it more often because it's a really good workout. So we were doing an arpeggio. So we were doing, but we're adding a couple quick staccato notes at the top. Staccato just means short and separated. So what we're doing is, let me get my piano. So we're doing, ha, 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 ha. So if you put your hand here, you should feel every single note. Do a quick, teeny little engagement. It shouldn't, again, should not be a huh, 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 huh. We don't want to move the whole torso. Just a quick little boop. Ready? So let's try it again. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah, and let's move up a little just for fun. Ready? Nice big belly breath. So you relax, you feel that engagement on the, that expansion on the inhale. Ready? Ha, 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 ha. And then another engagement. Ha, 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 ha. And this should be hopefully coming all from here, and this should be really relaxed and open. Sometimes you'll notice if you are in here, it'll start to feel a little bit tight, a little bit squeaky. So it'll be kind of like ha 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 ha. You'll hear more air coming through, maybe if there's some more tightness coming through, or ha 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 ha, that kind of sound. Ha 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 ha, as opposed to that quick little ha ha, as opposed to ha. That's what we don't want. So we want to just keep on this. And if you do this for a little while, you'll start to feel like you're getting a little bit of an ab workout, and that is kind of nice. All right, so let's do a couple more just for fun. Ready? Ha, 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 ha. Nice and short, quick and strong. Lots of volume. Ha, 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 ha. Just don't overdo. Ha, 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 ha. It'll start to feel different in your head voice too if you're going up there. Let's do like 2 more. Ha, 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 ha. Good, last one. Ha, 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 ha. So for me, it feels like the work is happening down here. Every movement is going engage, 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 bypassing most of this. And especially when I'm in my head voice, it's going straight to here. So it feels like bypassing all of this, boom, right here. On my chest voice, I'm just feeling a little lower. So it's more like ha, 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 kind of like right here, but it's not coming from here. It's just going straight out my face. So when you're thinking about breathing and holding a tone, not just breathing in, or thinking about where your breath is going when you're making a sound, you want to be noticing what your abdominals are doing, connected with your diaphragm and your lungs, but keeping in mind that you don't need to do a whole lot, but it does need to be a practice that you do more often than not, because like I said, when you are in a performance or you're singing in front of somebody, or you're recording, or you just had a hard day and your nervous system is a little shot, you're going to go back to your default, right? And you're going to be like, why can't I hit that note? You're going to be straining again, because when you're dysregulated, your nervous system's trying to protect you at all costs. And so it goes back to the old patterns that it used to know how to protect you, because your brain is a prediction machine, right? It's when you're in a lower state, like a fight or flight or a freeze, your brain doesn't always have the capacity to reason with itself. It's just, its only goal is safety. And so what it knows best is what it has the most evidence for, which is for 10 years, you did it this one way, even though you've been practicing for the last couple of weeks to engage down here and release this and open up and do all these different patterns. When you're slightly dysregulated, your body's going to go back to what it knows the most. And so we have to just be very careful to not overdo it when you are dysregulated, right? So if you're practicing and you're finding yourself very frustrated, you have this story in your head that's like, man, I'm the worst. Why can't I hit that note? I suck. I just did it. Why can't I do it anymore? That's your cue to say, okay, maybe I should stop practicing right now until I feel a little different in my body, because we know that you can tell yourself a billion times to just feel better, but it's not always going to work. You can tell yourself to sing better, but until your body is in a place where it feels like it doesn't have to survive, that is gonna, it's not, what you're wanting is not going to happen. in the same way, right? And in an easier way, or you're going to keep trying to force yourself and you're going to hurt yourself. So just be careful, especially when you're doing like big chest voice notes like I was just doing. Make sure you warm up before you do these things. Warm up with a warm up like that to get your abs online, to really practice that feeling of, oh, there is a fuel mechanism down here, right? And I can switch to that and practice that switching so that I don't have to be always at the mercy of what my habit is, right? This is why we practice. And I know practice seems like a pain in the butt most of the time, but if you think about it from a brain perspective, like your brain has decades of evidence doing it the other way, and hearing strain and feeling strain and saying, okay, that's dangerous, I better just not ever sing high notes. That's where most of your evidence lies. But now you're starting to give it more evidence that you can do things from a different coordination. Like when you speak, hey you, every time you do that and then sing and compare it to singing, right? Hey you, you're starting to give your brain more evidence and more connection that, oh, maybe making sound up there doesn't have to be scary. Maybe making sound up there can be efficient and effective, and I can hit those notes. Maybe I'm a different person than I thought I was. Maybe I'm safer than I thought I was as well. So as you're practicing, sometimes just starting with a whole different coordination, like that ha 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 exercise, or starting with a nice lip trill instead of just launching right into singing, can do a whole lot to remind your body of new pathways that you're creating. So that's why I always suggest, like, don't worry if you're not practicing for an hour every day. It's the quality of the practice that counts. So when I say 5-5-5, this is my favorite practice method. You have 5 minutes of warming up. And this is all very intentional. You're not focused on other things. You're just in this warm-up. Do 2 warm-ups for the specific skills that you're wanting to do. So if you're wanting to have a little more breath support, as they call it, you might know my feelings about that word, but we want it to remind your body. So whatever warm-ups you're doing, we want to remind your body that, oh, I can use more of my abdominals to have more fuel so that I don't have to feel as much strain in here. And then the next 5 minutes is specific skill work. So again, if you're working on this breath support, having a nice steady tone, I would say add a little bit of a longer notes in there as you're doing it so that you can show your body that I can hold that space for a longer note. I don't have to be afraid of a longer note. I don't have to be worried that strain is going to come in, because now I have a different way of doing it. So the next warm-up I would do is do that same thing, but just add a longer note in there. So maybe like ha 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 instead of ha 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 ha, because you're holding that longer note makes you notice a lot of things. For example, when I do a long note on like a really tenuous part of my voice, I'll notice that my intuition, my muscles start to want to tighten up. And that is just straight up nervous system. Like, I'm not feeling safe in this moment. I'm going to try and fix it and make it something else that I know is easier or safer. And I have to be the one to say, no, I am safe in this moment. I can hold this note. I can be in this space. I can hold the space open. I can be relaxed and still make powerful sound. And then you do that again and again and again, and you find yourself singing as a fully different person eventually. So I'm a huge fan of adding longer holds into your practice, especially early on, because then you start to show your body that you can do that, and you don't have to give into that that very visceral instinct, right? It's going to happen, right? Your first instinct is going to show up. So maybe you do it once, it tightens up. So you go, ha, 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 ha. And then you stop and you're like, okay, I see what's happening. I see you, brain. I know what's happening. Now I'm going to try and open up. I'm going to use my abdominals a little more. I'm going to see if I can speak it, right? Hey, yo! Okay, now I got the feeling. ha, 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 ha. Like it wants to come in, and then you're just like, no, 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 I got this, I'm safe. No, 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 I got this, I'm safe. All those little gremlin voices that come in and they're like, are you sure you shouldn't be doing this differently? And then they want to tighten up in here. You go, no, 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 don't worry, I got this. I'm good here, right? So you get better and better at that. And then all of a sudden, weeks later, you look back and you're like, oh, I just held that note and I didn't have any strain. And that's pretty cool. That note is accessible to me now. Not that it wasn't possible before. It was possible, but it wasn't accessible because of the walls that we put up in between ourselves and these notes. But now you brain trained so that it didn't feel quite so scary. Hopefully this makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions. This is such a wild thing for most people that when I show up here and talk about it, you know, it's beyond what most people care to think about a lot of the time, which is why not all of us are singers. You know, some people find notes that don't feel good and they give up forever, but that is not you, because you are here watching this video, and I love that about you, and I appreciate it, and don't ever lose that, because you can do hard things. Even if it feels hard now, even if your habit is just really stuck, you have the ability to change. Think about the last habit you created, whether it's, you know, flossing or, you know, making sure to wash the dishes before you go to bed or something. Think about how long it took you to really get into a groove for your brain, and then apply that ×2 to whatever habit you're trying to build for singing, because these little muscles in here, we don't think about them very often. So when you start thinking about them and building new habits with them, it can take a little while, because it's not like our biceps, which we think about and we use all day, every day. I mean, yes, we're using these all day, every day, but we don't think about what muscles are in there, how the mechanism works. We don't think about getting the abs involved in our speaking voice. It's just something our body does. And so just the awareness of this over the next couple of weeks is, I highly bet that it will change the way you think about your voice and voice training and brain training in general. So just notice what your body is doing. Notice what your habit is, what your default habit is, and then see if you can just take an extra second out of your day before you start singing the next time you do to think, okay, let me add my obliques in there. Let me press my feet into the floor. If I'm standing, I'm going to bend my knees just like an inch and see if I can get my abs online, and see if I can send the need to control that was up here down there, and then try this note one more time. See how it feels. Do a little experimenting. Come at it from a different perspective. Come at it from a speechy place. Then come back into singing. So taking your time, not forcing yourself to get it right away, because again, habits take a long time to build and break. So give yourself some grace and some love, and do some fun ab workouts. You can go back and watch this video however many times you want. Maybe I'll add this one into my usual warm-ups. That might be a really good idea. So I love you. I appreciate you being here. If you're here, give me a little heart emoji or something. Thank you for hanging out. If you have questions, if you want me to cover something next time, please feel free to always message me. This is the last week for Enchanted Voice to be open. So if you are curious about what that is, just go check out the link in the thing. It's a lighter commitment version of most of my programs. So up until now, you've only been able to do private lessons packages or my full 6-month vocal magic program. But now this is a lighter commitment version for people who it's not time and money is not there to do one of those bigger programs. So what we're doing is monthly live group sessions. You still get the chance to work with me one-on-one live, but it's a group session, so you get a little hot seat coachings. So 5 to 10 minutes, you show up, you sing whatever song you're working on, I ask you a bunch of questions, we talk about it, you try it again and see how it feels. And then everybody else in the room, in the Zoom room, gets to learn from you. and learn from all of the breakthroughs that you have. And bonus, you get to learn from all of them as well. So you get to hear the feedback they're getting. And it's a community. So we're talking to each other, we're supporting each other, we're lifting each other up. We all have the same gremlin voices in our head, or very similar ones at least. So it's a really magical thing to have other singers there supporting you who get you. Also, part of this program is feedback. So you can post videos of you singing in our group, and I will send you feedback within a couple days. And we can chat, and you also get you can choose to do the VIP and get a private session with me every month as well. So that's a pretty huge deal. There's only 2 or 3 more VIP spots left. So go check that out if you're curious. The basic without the private session is plenty of information though. Like I'm going to send also weekly video tidbits, which are not going to be huge homework assignments. It's not going to be an hour video every week, I promise. Like there's a reason you joined this program. We're taking it little bits at a time. So I'm going to send exercises, warm-ups, mindset shift things, anatomy. We're going to be doing like one little idea every week for you to practice, and then every month we'll have a theme. So over the next year you will get so much information you won't even know what to do with it. But it will be, you have more time to process it. That's the great other part about this program. Like we go through all the same stuff but slower. So you get a full week to practice these 1 or 2 exercises and see how that applies to your breathing and whatever other skill we're working on. So that's cool. If you're curious, just send me a message. Happy to answer any of these questions. If you're really on the fence, let me know and we can schedule a little mini chat. Yeah. 1 week. Doors close on Monday, February 5th. It's the last possible day. These prices will not ever be there again. They're only going to go up from here. So please join us now. I would love to get another handful or 2 of people in there, just to have a good amount of people. And I love you and I appreciate you. Cannot wait to start. And I already sent the first assignment yesterday. So don't worry if you're late. It's a really easy assignment. But our welcome call will be on the 5th as well, on next Monday. So jump in there now, this weekend at the latest. And then we'll get started. All right. Love you very much. I'll see you soon.